So on this side, I'm doing a wet on dry technique, wet paint on dry paper. So first I need to add water to my paint. So I'm going to use which colors? I will use red and I will use blue. So let's see, I'm going to brush this to get some paint on my brush. I'm mixing the water and the color. And I'm going to carefully move that paint, sort of pushing it along everywhere I want it to go. And remember, we stay on tiptoes. You don't smash it down. So just the tip of the brush. So for the blue, I want to show you that if you mix for longer, you'll end up using up more paint, but you'll get a brighter color. So if I keep going a little bit longer with my blue, mixing, and I'm just brushing, I'm not scrubbing. Okay, let's try this down here and see if we get a darker color. Ooh, yes, definitely. A lot more paint, a lot more color in the paint. We call that saturation. Okay, so I'm going to show you now the wet on wet technique. Uh-oh, my water is dirty and so is my brush. To do the wet on wet, I need clean water, clean brush. So what I'm going to do is to take one area and get it wet. And it needs to be wet enough. Oops, and anywhere I have the water is where my paint is going to go later. So I'm putting it in, I'm brushing it on. If it's too dry, this technique won't wet. Ooh. If it's too dry, this technique won't work. So I'm going to actually put some more. And what's going to happen is the paint is going to only go where there's the water. It's going to spread out. Let's try the red. Woo, wow, there it goes. So this is a way of blending colors. All right, let's try the blue. Whoa, whoa, whoa. If I have too much water, it will start to tear. Now you can see it's starting to spread on its own. I can help it. I can help move it. I could get some more red if I decide that no, it really needs more red. It's hard to really control what's happening inside there though, so the paint may go in directions that you were not planning. But as you can see, it's staying inside my circle. If the whole sheet were wet, it would not stay inside the circle. All right, what I'd like to show you is, let's see, I'm going to put some more over here. If I take my red and go over here, sometimes people think they're doing wet on dry, but they're actually doing wet on wet because they haven't let their paints get dry. So, for example, let me show you an example here. All right, if I add blue right here, this red is wet, so it's gonna spread. Let's try. Let's see if we will end up with an accidental wet on wet. Okay, I'm coming around and I'm painting, and I think everything's great. Oh, it's not actually doing it too badly. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. There's a wet spot I didn't know about. So if you have some wet spots you don't know about, all of a sudden, oh, there goes the blue blending into the red. I didn't mean for that to happen. So you always just want to make sure that you're only putting paint down next to a dry area. If you don't have paints today, you could always try blending colors with anything, really. Okay, let me try blending these two colors in a shape. Just kind of a practice. So I could start with this color on this side, and I'm doing it darkest on the edge. In the area that I want to blend, I'm going to make it lighter. So make it lighter and lighter. This side, I'm going to do the same thing. Let me try this. Okay, I'm going to do red on the edge, the darkest. I'm going to go lighter, lighter. You can see I'm using a different direction with my pencil. This one I'm doing vertical, the other one I had diagonal. All right, so to blend, I have to go, I'm going to start lightly, I have to go into the other area. Kind of like I did with my paints, where it's spreading. And then this one I'll go on to the other side. See if I can get a blended area in the middle. Maybe I need to go darker over here. And I'm coloring lightly, 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 but darker than I did before. So I can end up with this blended area. Some colors are easier to blend than others. If I'm doing yellow and green, let's see, maybe I'm just going to try the blend right there. Let me add some blended color here by just going lightly on top. So I'm just experimenting with adding two different colors, one on top of the other to get a blending effect. I could also try blending with pencil, blending a dark area with a light area. For the light area, I'm just going to leave it blank. So I can do it by coloring in lighter and lighter as I go, or really, so I can do that by shading in lighter and lighter as I go. Another thing people do is to use their finger. What about if all I have is some kind of marker? Could I try blending dark and light? Let me see if I'm doing lines and I'm making my lines, I make them really close together on one side. Like this side is gonna be really close together, a whole bunch of little lines on this side. So more lines over here. This is called hatching or cross hatching. One direction is hatching, and if I do it the other direction, we call it cross hatching. And you can see I can make it lighter and lighter. Add more lines anywhere you want it to get darker. I'm going in all different directions with my lines. It's an artist's choice.